On today's show, the first San Diego Padres game against the Dastardly Dodgers was a real nuclear war playoff vibes event, but they come out the losers this time after possibly a huge blown call.
You are Locked On Padres, your daily San Diego Padres podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of Locked On Padres podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day for Tuesday, June 10th. As always, I'm your host, the San Diego Padres fan from New Jersey, and I've been covering the team for almost 6 years now for not just this podcast, but also various other outlets, including justbaseball.com, chief among them. And today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Today's show, guys, we are doing a whole bunch, but let me just tell you one more thing real quick. Follow me on Twitter/X and Blue Sky at Javipeno, JAVIIPENO. Today's episode, we are recapping game one of this series between the Padres and Dodgers, in which a lot took place. So dare I say, I could use the whole show to talk about that game, if we're being honest, but I'm better than that for you guys. We're also going to be doing a little bit of a temperature check into the Padres rotation, given two consecutive poor starts from Nick Pivetta, just giving my thoughts on that. And then a little bit of the update on the wild card race, frankly, because I think that things are starting to we're getting a little bit clearer of a picture at what we're working with this season. So first, guys, let's begin with the game. The Padres lose this one by a final score of 8-7. And let me tell you, the offense was offensing, right? A little bit of an inauspicious start for the Padres, I will say, though. It does not start off great in this game, as the Dodgers strike first with a Freddie Freeman double and a Will Smith sac fly to make it 2-0. Final line, though, for our starting pitcher last night was Nick Pivetta, 4 innings, giving up 5 runs, 4 earned on 8 hits, 2 walks, and 3 Ks. Probably his worst start in a long time and his second consecutive poor start. We're going to talk a little bit more about Pivetta in the second segment, but yeah, the curveball just wasn't curving. You know what I mean? It wasn't curving as much as he could. I know that he got 6 whiffs on it, don't get me wrong, but there were times when the control was just not there. And when he's not as comfortable with that fastball, if he's not able to get strikeouts, you get kind of the result that you saw last night. And frankly, I'm shocked that there wasn't like even more runs given up by Pivetta. It felt like one of those games that he just kind of had to chug along to conserve the bullpen a little bit. And the bullpen did show up in this game, by the way, for what it's worth. But let me also talk about Yuki Matsui. Speaking of bullpen, does give up a big hit in this one, the tying hit. To tie the game at 6, he gives it up to Hae-Sung Kim, who doubled, allowing Max Muncy to score. Look, I hate how much this guy, Matsui, loves making me look bad. You know what I mean? I've been hyping this guy up for a long time, and I still think that he's a very good pitcher, but it's unfortunate that I feel like I was just recently talking about him, and for him to get a little bit hit right there was unfortunate, but how can you hate him? I mean, still, this Padres bullpen, aside from 1 run, if you take that after a 4-inning game, if they can go another 5 and only give up 1 earned run, you take that every single time. But the Padres did fight in this one. Dustin May wasn't all that much better. 6 runs by him, 5 earned. Man, Padres offense, it started to look great at points. You know what I mean? It started to look great. But really, Manny Machado has been absolutely carrying this team. 2 for 5 last night with a double, an RBI double, allowing Fernando Tatis Jr. to score in the bottom of the first, just striking back immediately. Merrill sac fly. Cronenworth scores on a crazy sequence as well, wild pitch. And then Tyler Wade in the bottom of the 3rd inning makes the score 6-5 Padres. And basically no scoring happened for the Padres for a while after that, right? Or for the Dodgers, right? The Tyler Wade triple is the first game in his career in which he had 3 RBIs in 1 game, if I'm not mistaken. So congrats to Tyler Wade. This does not change the overall. We got to remember that, because moments like that linger in your head for a while, right? The same way I think Fernando Tatis Jr.'s walk-off home run that he hit like a month ago stayed in our minds for a couple weeks and is distracted from the fact that he's been pretty awful for a long stretch of time. He does not have a good game in this one either, by the way. 1 for 3. He does get a stolen base and 2 walks. Actually, wait, no, he did have a good game. My mistake. I thought he was terrible. It was Xander Bogaerts, who we'll get to in a second, that was bad in this one. But, Tatis has been bad for a while, but thankfully he's at least showing a little bit better plate discipline, drawing some walks. He did hit a ball into the air last night, which was great. I did love to see that. But he has not kickstarted things just yet. But all in all, not great there. Morejon by the way. Great moment for him in this game. There's a little bit of a scare, right? He does give up a couple of hits, and specifically, he gives up a wild pitch on his own account, right? After a slow tapper to Shohei Ohtani that could have ended the inning, he just throws the ball into Isaac, right? Like, that's what he does, and that was unfortunate. And what stinks is that Adrian Morejon has actually been really incredible this year. And I love that he still worked his way out of this, getting a strikeout on Freddie Freeman, by the way. And he was super, super pumped about that. But he's been phenomenal. He just makes you nervous. And I fully believe that he makes you nervous just because he's perspiring, looks like he's sweating up a storm every single time he's on the mound. That's what it feels like. We're just gonna go with that theory. And also, we're going to go with the theory that he was just aura farming, and that's why he missed the throw to first base. He said, you know what? I want to give myself a moment where I could be pumped and I could be excited about getting the strikeout on Freddie Freeman and give myself a high leverage situation. You know what I mean? So he was aura farming a little bit on that one. Gets the K on Freeman, like I said. For what it's worth, 0.8 wins above replacement according to FanGraphs this year, 1.1 all of last year. That doesn't look, wins above replacement is weird for pitchers. I don't always like using it, but it's just one little stat to exemplify that he really has been on a roll this year in big situations for the most part. To have all that accumulated already does say a little bit about how good a season has been so far. Opponents are also hitting only 120 against him in high leverage situations. So we very, very much like you. Last note before we get into extra innings, though, Luis Arraez, bad swing decision. Tatis has a base stolen, potentially leading you into a situation where a single walks the game off and he swings at the pitch for no reason. And it's just Arraez, man. Arraez. And I want to leave it at this. He has still been very good. Don't get me wrong. He's been a good hitter for this team. But for all the people that think I'm hating on Arraez because I just don't like singles and I'm a numbers nerd, there are other players. Forget me, by the way, for a second. There are other players in baseball like Jacob Wilson who are also singles machines that everybody loves. So it's not just that. It's Arraez makes some really poor, pitch decisions, in my opinion, sometimes, and that was one of them. It's not the reason they lost. It's just a nitpick, dare I say, about this performance. But folks, I got more nitpicks because we got to talk about extra innings and we got to talk about the calamity that was that strike 3 call on Manny Machado. But first, a word from our sponsors. And that sponsor is a good one, ladies and gentlemen, because it helps you get the supplies you need from all the skilled trades, plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, whatever it is. Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. The easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400 plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. And if you need help with an order, have no fear. Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. No robocalls on this one, man. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free TradeMaster program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage, and now it's your turn. Join the TradeMaster program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Go on and check it out. And just like that, everybody, we are back thriving and vibing here into the second segment of this show. As always, remember, one more time, follow me on Twitter /X and Blue Sky at Javipeno, JAVIIPENO. Thriving and vibing on there as always. Extra innings for this one. That's right. Not just a one segment recap because we went into extras and unfortunately, I mentioned the Arraez thing, possibly a chance there. Should he have prolonged the at-bat? He does not. We're going to do more of an episode on Arraez, more of a segment on Arraez tomorrow's show, by the way. So look forward to that. But when it comes to extra innings, Wandy Peralta, yes, again, the bullpen was pretty good in this one, but he gives up an Andy Pages bomb that, in fairness, not a bomb, a double. Let me be clear. It wasn't a home run. But it is worth mentioning a couple of things. That he did get a little bit BABIP'd a little bit in this. Brandon Lockridge takes a little bit of an awkward route to the ball. He comes into the ball instead of backing up, and it goes a little bit over his head. So there's the possibility that Lockridge makes that catch, which is just really unfortunate to add on to our qualms, our issues with left field when it comes to the Padres, because Lockridge has actually been a pretty decent defender this year. I feel like that's the only reason some of these guys have been on the roster, particularly him and Hayward, is just because of their defense. And boy, oh boy, do we have to fix left field. But the other thing that happened is then a single right after that by Tommy Edman. It hits off the second base bag. So in fairness to Wandy Peralta, because it is the zombie runner on second on top of that, and then a little bit of a bad route by Lockridge, a bounced ball off of the second base bag. Like it's not all on him. That being said, it was really unfortunate because I was actually on Doug McCain's show. For those who don't know, he hosts Locked On Rams, and he also does a Dodgers podcast on YouTube. I was on his show talking about, hey, Wandy Peralta's got a little bit better. I mentioned that. I alluded to it, and boom, lets me down. But that's not the big thing that happens in this game, because in the bottom of the 10th inning, folks, things get rockety. We're cooking. Ladies and gentlemen, we're cooking with gas, because to start this off, Luis Arraez is on second, and Manny Machado works a tough at bat against, I believe it was Tanner Scott still. Was it Tanner Scott? Let me check this out. It was Tanner Scott. It was Tanner Scott relieving Kirby Yates, and man, was this unfortunate. I'm actually going to put it on the screen real quick for you guys. The strike call, the seventh pitch of the at-bat, high and outside. It was very much not a strike, and Machado was pissed. Very awkward camera, by the way. I don't know if you guys saw. I imagine everybody saw this. Very weird. Very weird play in which they had the umpire cam and Manny's like getting in his face like they're about to kiss. It was very, very silly. But Manny has all the reason to be upset about that. And that call really does change things, because then right after that, Jackson Merrill lines a single that allows Luis Arraez to score. Then Gavin Sheets pops out. And then Xander Bogaerts pops out as well. Shouts to Bogaerts, by the way. I'm also putting on the screen footage of the Padres players during the at-bat. They all look dejected. Tatis is like lounging around. Like Manny's like, whatever. It's almost like they knew what was going to happen, the way that we all have. Xander Bogaerts fly out. Looked like he made decent contact for a second, but nope, because Xander Bogaerts is here to make us suffer, ladies and gentlemen. He has less RBIs than Luis Arraez this year, right? Who I've just complained about a little bit, and less than Jackson Merrill. The latter of which was out for like 2 weeks. Remember that? Xander Bogaerts, it cannot be emphasized enough how much of a disaster he's been. But look, all in all, it's still just one game. I also want to note, by the way, there was a weird double play turn. Forgot to mention this. My apologies. Weird double play that happened in this. Weird toss by Xander Bogaerts, by the way, apparently just trying to kill us entirely to second base. Jake has to like duck out of the way because it was so awkward. Thankfully, Manny Machado was there to grab the ball for some reason. I don't know why he was there. It was very Derek Jeter-esque. I mean that in the sense that Jeter, if you guys know the play at home plate against Oakland, like what was he doing there in terms of that sense? Like what was Manny doing there? You know what I mean? Very, very weird play, very awkward. So what can I say? Yeah. So kind of hilarious umpire cam if you want to just look at the bright side of things, but not a good loss for the Padres, man. And look, let's talk about Pivetta, because Pivetta has now had 2 straight poor starts. So I imagine everybody's freaking out and saying, all right, chickens are coming home to roost. All right, he was a pretender for too long. 3.48 ERA on the season, though, and that's not bad. But it is worth noting that this is his second straight poor start, and they came against pretty good teams. One of them, the Giants. That being said, the Giants game, I think, deserves a little bit of slack, because he basically only made like a couple bad pitches, right? Just gave up a couple bombs, and that's something that'll happen. You know, in this game, gave up 8 hits in 4 innings. Like, that wasn't good. But all in all, I still think that he's a really good pitcher. He had a bunch of quality starts. He was on 4 straight quality starts. 3 straight quality starts before these last 2. Like, he'd been doing really well for a while now, so I'm not panicking. But it is worth talking about the rotation and where we are right now. Cease needs to have a great start tonight. He needs to. He has to. Because Dylan Cease basically all year has been this guy that we're waiting to finally show up. Right, because he's supposed to be that guy who could be a great number 2. Maybe not necessarily number 1, but a great friggin' number 2. And thus far, he has not been that. He's actually been the opposite. You never know what you're getting out of him. So they really need Dylan Cease to have a nice start. I don't know how he's going to do it, because this is a team that will be having a bullpen session, the Dodgers. And last time Dylan Cease was going against the bullpen, he was quite bad, if you guys remember. He was quite bad. So we'll have to see how that plays out. It looks like it's going to be a bullpen day for the Dodgers, but Cease needs to be good. I know he's a fastball slider guy, and those are guys that the Dodgers tend to do well off of, but he needs to be better because right now, look, I mean, again, I'm not panicking. I'm not panicking. 2 straight poor starts for Pivetta. Maybe it's just a solid regression to the mean. That's fine. Right, but I still am worried about the rest of the rotation in terms of you, Darvish, and Michael King if they don't come back. Darvish had a couple bullpens last week. You know, it's looking okay. They're optimistic that he could come back before July. But here's the problem: is that the Padres are always cagey about their injuries, and it's really, really frustrating. You know what I mean? Like I can't stand that they're like this all the time because they were saying he was going to be back by June. And then now, granted, they can't account for some more shoulder discomfort, right? They can't account for that necessarily. They didn't know what was going to happen there. But all in all, I still am worried about that, right? And then you have Michael King's situation, which Lord knows with his shoulder discomfort, he woke up on the wrong side of it. He hasn't pitched since May 18th. I think the entire reality of this Padres rotation can be broken down like this. If Darvish and Michael King, especially the latter, if Michael King comes back and he's fine and this was just a weird injury that he needed to be sidelined for a little bit, I feel great about this rotation. I really do. If he's not, though, and if Darvish is also not healthy, then this rotation gets really scary because it's possible that we're looking at just one of those off years for Dylan Cease. May I remind you, Dylan Cease, a little bit of the Eric Hosmer effect, a little bit of the Aaron Nola effect, actually. That's a better comp for him because every other year, his ERA has been either up or down, right? Let's look at literally the beginning of his career. In 2019, 5.79 ERA. The next year, 4.01, then 3.91, right? This is where it starts. 3.91, bad. 2.2 in 2022, then 4.58 in 2023, then 3.47 in 2024. He's starting to develop a little bit of a pattern. Now, granted, the peripheral stats are better. His FIP is 3.2, his xFIP 3.22. He still has the strikeout rate. The walk rate has gone down steadily over the course of the season. I am optimistic, but it is scary that if he's having the off-year Dylan Cease thing, if this is the type of guy he is, where there are going to be some years where, let's say, the slider doesn't have as much movement as he would like, as it hasn't as much this year, right? If you go by vertical inches drop and all that stuff. If that's the case, and he's just having a little bit of an off year where the ERA gets bloated, but he could still, be a good pitcher, he's going to throw a lot of innings, all that stuff, then that's a problem for this team because then you're relying on Nick Pivetta to be even better than what I think his role was supposed to be, which is, in my opinion, when it's all said and done, the best, like one of the best 3 or 4, depending on Darvish, 3 or 4 starters in the league, like in their spot in the rotation, not top 3 in all of baseball. That's an awesome role for him. If we're relying on him more to be the number 1 because Cease is just out of whack, and that's where it gets scary. I like what we've seen from Berger. I like what we've seen from Randy Vasquez and Stephen Kolek, but those guys do not get as many swing and miss stuff, so it's possible that they are due for some regression as well. And then the last thing is going to be the trade strategy. Like, what do the Padres do? Could Preller do a rare buy low on Sandy Alcantara? He's got like an 8 ERA right now. I don't know. That's usually not his thing to go. And more importantly, are the Marlins going to sell that low on Sandy? Probably not. They're probably going to wait another year to see if he bounces back and get him for more value. So that's out the window. And no, Paul Skeens isn't available. And even if he was, there are 9 other teams who would have more to offer than the Padres, unless Preller is friends with Ben Cherington and pulls a Mavericks and does a Luka Doncic trade, right? So that's where we are with the Padres. I think it's a little bit scary. There are other options, Tyler Anderson maybe of the Angels, but we really got to pay attention to the health of Michael King and Darvish. It's just that simple. Before we get into the final segment of this show, though, when we talk a little bit about the wild card race and what I'm feeling about the team just in general, we got to take one more break to hear about one more of our sponsors. And that one more sponsor, folks, let me tell you, if you ever check your bank and wonder where did all my money go between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, oh boy, it's easy to lose track. And that's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Great convenience. They got a bunch of insights, too, that can help you budget smarter and save more. And managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. Go on and check it out. And just like that, everybody, we are back here on the Locked On Padres podcast, thriving and vibing into the waning moments of this show. I hope you guys enjoy it. Feel free to subscribe on YouTube. That really helps the show a lot. Like the video, leave some comments, whatever you want. Say my hair looks awesome, right? Because ever since I got the haircut, looking pretty smooth in my opinion. Give me some props for that San Diego Padres hat right over here. I can't point. It's hard to point when you're on camera. Right there. Got it at a flea market in San Diego, actually. But let's talk about the wild card race real quick. Because thus far, this is kind of like a little bit of a just me projecting and telling everybody to just calm down a little bit. Because granted, this is a crazy next week for Padres baseball that is going to throw everything that I'm about to say out of whack. Like, let me be very clear. Everything can change. If the Padres were to win this series, right? If they were to win 2 out of 3 of this series, right? That puts them in a different position. And then you've got the D-backs for this weekend, and then you've got 4 against the Dodgers. So things might look crazy different. But for now, they are in possession of the 3rd wild card spot. The other 2 teams, the Phillies and the Giants, and they're all still just separated by just a few games. This ain't no American League, right? The American League is like Tigers, Yankees, somehow the Astros, despite their best efforts, and then a bunch of other teams that were like, okay, it's the American League is just not as good as of a division. Right? A conference, I should say. Right behind them are the St. Louis Cardinals at 36 wins, the Milwaukee Brewers at 35, and the Cincinnati Reds at 34 wins. And then the D-backs are 32 and 34. I want to talk about Arizona really quickly because Arizona, they will not be a team as much as I would like it. They are not going to be a team that's going to sell and probably trade within division, right? Zach Gallen probably being their biggest asset, Josh Naylor as well. But depending on how they play over this next week, and if the Padres start losing a lot, and if they beat us this weekend, you could see a world in which this D-backs team still stays in it, right? Not too long ago, remember, we were talking about how they should sell. I'm pretty sure we were talking about this last year and the previous year. Now, last year, maybe they should have sold, right? But they were just, it's fine. Last year's different. And they made the World Series and won enough games to be a little bit of a threat last year as well. Like, this is still a good team. So it wouldn't surprise me if they're like, no, we're not selling. You know what I mean? We're not going to do that right now. But I could see it be a possibility, especially with Corbin Burns getting Tommy John surgery. I don't think he's a threat to leave or anything like that. I know he has a player option and all that stuff with that contract, but who's going to take a player option after they just got Tommy John surgery and they signed a $200 million deal? Like, what are we doing here, right? So it's possible with Corbin Burns. Let's just theorize. The D-backs are out. Right, they're not going to be as much of a threat. They will be an annoying team to face because they score a lot of runs. I think Josh Naylor just walked it off last night with a big hit. But that leaves the Cardinals, who I think it just depends on how you feel about the Cardinals. You know what I mean? It depends on your opinion of the matter because the Cardinals have really overperformed. Brendan Donovan, Mason Wynn, and Ivan Herrera have been awesome. Right, all players you're not expecting. And then Wilson Contreras has been okay. I wish we could have him, man. Let me tell you, Lars Nootbaar, Nolan Arenado, like Arenado's got an 87 WRC plus, so it's pretty impressive what they've been able to do, despite the fact that they have not been spending or anything like that. And then with their pitching, Sonny Gray has been excellent. Matthew Liberatore has been pretty good, and Steven Matz, for some reason, has been pretty good. Right, 2.41 ERA and a 1.68 FIP. So the Cardinals might be a little bit legit, but given that they just brought in Chaim Bloom of the Boston Red Sox, again, this is a projecting segment. Boston Red Sox and Tampa Bay Rays. What was he known for? Cleaning up payroll and selling and rebuilding. It's possible that team, unless they are crazy over 500, let's say there's still 6 games above 500 come the deadline, I could see a world in which they're like, no, we're selling. Like, we're going to trade Sonny Gray. We're going to get a lot. I could see it. I know it hasn't been reported, but I think that could happen. And I know people are going to disagree with me on that because the division is pretty light. Right. But overall, I think that the Cardinals with Chaim Bloom being brought in, why do you bring that guy in? Like, if you're trying to really win and go for it, I don't see that. Right. So we're going to have to see how it pans out as the rest of the season goes along. Milwaukee Brewers, I'm not scared of them, but they're always a threat to make the playoffs and be spoilers. Then the Reds, they're really weird, but they do have the star power. And it is possible that they are a candidate for that second half breakout that teams are. There's always a second half breakout team, always, right? Last year it was the Padres and D-backs, by the way. right? The Padres were like kind of they were good, but they were kind of what they are right now, and then they blew up rest of the year, right? To the point where they actually almost had a chance to win the division from the Dodgers, which reminds me of the situation we're in right now. I'm saying all this to say that it's not the end of the world, what's going on with the Padres right now. The Atlanta Braves are probably out of it. Right? The Braves lost 7 in a row. Like, after it looked like they were crawling themselves out of the basement that they dug themselves, they have lost 7 in a row. They finally won one, but I'm just saying, it's totally possible. And lastly, the Dodgers, right? The Dodgers. You got to talk about them, right? And Michael Troy Shorey on Twitter brought up a question. He said, hey, regular listener of your show, as you might know, but mailbag question, and mailbag is Monday, by the way, but we're making an exception this time. What are the Dodgers doing to their pitching staff? I know that a few of them have history of injuries, but they seem to have a full roster on the IL every year. Stay faithful, bruv. Thank you, Mr. Michael Troy Shorey. And stay faithful to you, Sarah, as well. I think that, so let me be biased Padres fan for a second. I think it is really annoying that the media, whenever we're talking about the Dodgers and their ability to develop talent, no one even as a little note, just a little note. They're still amazing. They're still an amazing organization. I want to be clear. Unfortunately, they are amazing. I think it's worth at least bringing up that they keep having pitchers tear their ACLs and get hurt every time they go there. I think it's at least worth bringing up a little bit more and criticizing that just a little bit. Because none of y'all wanted to criticize that when Roki Sasaki chose them. And it was like, well, Bobby Miller's got a torn ACL. He not torn ACL. Tommy John surgeries, my bad. Tommy John there with Bobby Miller. Walker Buehler had one. Roki Sasaki's hurt right now. Tyler Glass now, like, he's hurt. You know, Clayton Kershaw's been getting hurt a bunch. Granted, he's older. Then you've got guys like Blake Trinan. And Bruce Argraterol. Their whole team is on the IL. And I conclude by saying point number two with this. I don't know what's going on there. It might just be a crazy fluke. But here's the thing. Maybe first place really is open. They've won the division like 800 times in a row. And as longtime listeners of this show know, I'm a big believer in the law of averages. It has not played out well when it comes to the Dodgers, but at some point they have to lose the division, right? And as of right now, it's looking like Giants or Padres might be the two teams that are going to go and make a fight for it. So this series is massively important, but there's a silver lining. If they don't do well against the Dodgers over this next week, talking about the Braves, maybe not believing in the Cardinals because of Chaim Bloom, and then talking about the Brewers, the D-backs, it's possible that the competition you have to be better than them. It's like when they make the joke about running away from the bear, you just have to be faster than the person that's with you rather than faster than the bear. Maybe that's the situation that we're looking at right now. So a little bit of fruit for thought for you guys before we conclude today's episode. Thank you, as always, listening to the Locked On Padres podcast, the only pod that may be better than the Padres themselves. Remember to subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts from and leave likes and subscribes on YouTube and plenty of comments. We will read them like we did with Michael Troy Shorey for the mailbag on Monday. Tomorrow's show, we're going to recap the game, and we're going to be talking about Luis Arraez a little bit more as well, just a little bit of a preview. And yeah, that about does it, guys. Until next time, stay safe. And of course, stay faithful, my Friar Faithful homies. Take care.